From a glance, his house seems like a standard haunted house tale with a bit of social commentary thrown in, but like Get Out and Night of the Living Dead, Remy Weeks' slow burn horror manages to worm its way under your skin and be both affecting and thought-provoking. The story follows Bol, played by Sope Dirisu, and Real, played by Wunmi Masaku, two refugees fleeing from war-ravaged South Sudan with a girl called Nyagak, who we're told is their daughter. Unfortunately, Nyagak, along with many others, perishes when the overcrowded boat they travel on to cross the Mediterranean capsizes during a storm. The characters are presented to us as good people, wanting to make a new start. Both Bol and Real are bright and seemingly happy as the film begins, despite the pain of losing a child. But as the narrative unfolds, the many flashbacks and ghosts of their past reveal layers of horror that they're fighting to contain. Both Durisu and Musaku are pitch perfect as a tormented pair, and their descent into hell, partly of their own making, though mainly down to the horrors of genocide, is portrayed with subtlety and determination.
Confident signature?
I work in a bank.
After their ship capsizes, the film jumps to 3 months later, where we reunite with Bol and Real as they're granted temporary asylum in the UK. They meet a caseworker called Mark, played by Matt Smith, who assigns them a rundown council house and warns them that if they fail to follow the rules, they could be deported. Smith brings an unnerving quality to Mark, and you're never quite sure what his thoughts are, despite his semi-racist protestations that he hopes that Bol and Real are
one of the good ones.
At first, Mark seems unsympathetic, like the immigration officers that plainly tell them,
"Whether or not you're good people, it's not me that needs convincing."
or the driver who treats them with contempt and ignores their questions before throwing their belongings to the ground. But by the end, Mark's revealed to be compassionate and is the only one that goes beyond protocol to consider what they came from, and ultimately what they must be dealing with.
Many of us, we end up in places we never thought we'd be. But I think that's life, trying to show you what kind of man you are.
Bol is keen to assimilate to his surroundings and seems to have little grief for his recently deceased daughter. From the get-go, Bol desperately tries to prove to immigration authorities that he belongs in the UK and that he's happy to forget his roots, while Real struggles with her husband's attempts to forget their past. He heads to the pub and joins in with football chants. He changes the way he dresses to suit his Western environment, and even tries to get Real to use a knife and fork to eat dinner, rather than her hands as she's accustomed to. As a counterweight, we see her dress in beautiful traditional clothing and sitting on the floor to eat as they would have done at home in Sudan.
But maybe next time we can use the table.
The tension between Bol and Real as the two approach their new life in the UK differently, Bol embracing UK culture and Real clinging to her African roots, is a powerful side story to the main horrors of the film. Not long after moving into their new home, Bol and Real begin to experience strange occurrences. At first, they only hear soft scratches and thumps in the walls and conclude that it must be rats. But soon after this, Nyagak appears to Bol through a hole in the wall and attacks him. Following the attack, a number of other victims of war also begin appearing in the house and tormenting Bol, who starts to unravel as the mysteries of their past simmer to the surface.
What did you dream about?
Our wedding day.
Explains the screams.
After recounting a fable from her childhood about an old thief that stole from his village and an apeth to build his home, only to then be followed and tormented by the witch and the spirits of the dead in his house, Real posits that the bizarre occurrences in their home were the doing of the same witch that tormented the old man. Unable to admit what he'd taken, Bol starts burning all of his belongings and smashes down the walls of the house looking for the apeth, but the visions persist and intensify. Eventually, the witch presents itself to Bol and explains that he wants his life for Nyagak's, but Bol refuses and he and Real argue. Real accuses Bol of stealing a life that needs returning, and it's at this moment that the secrets of Bol's story come tumbling out. Nyagak wasn't their child, but was actually taken away from her mother by him to gain them access to a bus so that they could escape approaching armed forces. When Nyagak died, it wasn't the grief of losing a daughter that Bol and Real suffered, but the shame of stealing and, ultimately, being responsible for the death of a child. In the end, Bol realizes what he must do and offers himself to the witch to protect his wife. In the final confrontation, he subjugates to the demon, but unwilling to let her husband go, Real kills the witch instead. The final scene of the movie sees a changed Real and Bol in their home talking to Mark and his colleagues. With the witch behind them, the future looks brighter for the pair, and this is echoed in Mark's overlooking of various issues that could have had them deported. But as the camera pans away, we see the ghosts of those that they knew and lost filling up the house, suggesting that their torment may not yet be over. The true power of the film doesn't lie in the barely seen ghosts and creepy eyes staring out from the cracks in the wall. It's in the horrific nature of Bol and Real's journey to the UK and what brought them there in the first place. The couple's passage to find refuge is shown piecemeal in flashbacks that reveal layers of the horror they endured, culminating in the decision to steal Niyat. In taking the child from her mother, Bol makes a very difficult decision. As mentioned before, both Bol and Real are good people that would not have taken the child under normal circumstances, and the film makes that very clear. But it's not until we see their entire town being destroyed, or the moment that Real's friends at school were massacred, that the gravity of their plight and the complexity of their decision to take the child is revealed. Under less skilled hands than Remy, the ending of his house might have been the standard good guys beat evil demon and live happily ever after. Indeed, the final scene with Mark letting them off for some of their transgressions appears positive. However, the friends, family and strangers they left behind as they made their journey to the UK will never leave them. Remy reinforces this in the final scene by forgoing the last jump scare typical in horror, and instead surrounding the couple with the ghosts of the dead. It's clear that they still have a lot to work through, and deep trauma like this can't be wrapped up in 90 minutes, but instead of fear and terror in the eyes of Bol and Real, we see hope and determination, with our heroes finally in repair. His house effectively asks, what is it that really scares us? A barely glimpsed spectre jumping from the dark, or the horrors of our past? With that having been said, that's all for today, folks. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click the notification icon to stay up to date on all my content, and if there's anything else you'd like to request, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
Get some screws for your door. There's a shop round the corner. Say hello to your neighbours and that. Yeah, you'll be alright.
This entire house is just for us.
Yeah. All of it. Home.